Hey, everybody.
Hey, y'all.
This is Lexie Brown here, and I'm here with my girl,
Mariah Rose.
And welcome to Full Circle Podcast. This is episode 1.
Yes, and we're going to get into why we're starting this and why it is so important, and I'm so excited.
Me too, because I've had a lot to say, and I've been taking a Twitter break, guys, so I've been able to compile my thoughts a lot, and now I have my own platform to express my feelings. And this is like my dream come true.
I know. I can't wait. First of all, let's talk about what led us to do this and to give you and I this platform to talk about women's sports and, you know, in a way that isn't the way that we've been so frustrated with seeing it as of recently.
Yeah. I mean, for me being a player and then hearing from Mariah, who's a like media member / fan, spectator, I just feel like the dialogue around women's basketball has been completely commandeered by men, and men that have no idea what they're talking about, men that are not fans. And, you know, let me take that back, because I feel like our fans, the new fans, they kind of feel attacked at times because they are new, like little babies.
Like people are gatekeeping it from them.
So, you know, I have a little bit of grace for the new fans. Welcome. Love that you're here. I hope you stay. It's fun.
But we're not
here.
talking about them.
We're not talking about them. You're right. We're
not attacking them, the new fans. We're attacking the people who are acting like they're some sort of experts on women's basketball because they decided to cover it when 1, 2, or 3 players came into the league and they only covered those specific situations.
Right. And I just feel like there are so many players in this league that deserve being highlighted, their stories being told. But then also I feel like the game of women's basketball needs to be covered objectively and with statistics and facts and not just opinions. And I feel like this entire summer I was just hearing opinion after opinion after opinion. And now we're just like, no one really even knows what's going on.
And it's clickbait. Like people want to talk about the biggest situation and controversy that's happening and not really what's happening on the court or the most talent or the actual like finals matchups or like trying to create controversy out of nothing to give them a reason to be talking about women's basketball when it's really like what's happening on the court and the games are enough. Like we don't have to create a controversy out of thin air just so you can, you know, have this clickbaity moment to talk about something. It's
and storylines doesn't mean drama. And drama doesn't mean controversy.
Yeah.
Like drama and storylines can exist within the like confines of a sport. And it doesn't have to exceed that. It doesn't even have to leave the lines. And I think that's something, especially as women, they're like, you guys all need to be competitive, but then like also hold hands and patty cake and braid each other's hair. But still we want you to compete at a high level. And that just simply is not like, that's not what we have to do or need to do.
Well, at the same time, I feel like because y'all are women playing and there is a level of competition and drama does just come with sports naturally, that when there is that sort of competitive fire that the WNBA has always had, it comes off as quote unquote jealousy or catty or hating. And
Please
it's like,
eliminate that word. Hating and hater. We are one of the best basketball players on earth. We are all out here living our dreams. What do we hate? Like, if you guys think we're hating, that it's crazy to think about that you are making us second guess what we're doing day in and day out, which is chasing our dreams and following our dreams. Like, I want that word to be thrown away.
Well, where do you think it comes from? Like, why do you think people feel like y'all, I can even see like with us starting this platform and kind of saying, you know, we want to take back the conversation of covering women's basketball from people who actually pay attention and are actually fans and want the best for women's basketball. I feel like that even could come off to some people as like being a hater, you know, trying to take the conversation back. But why do you think that that's always what the label is?
Honestly, I just think it's a word people use to describe women. Like, but in a completely different way than they use it to describe a man. Like, this year, honestly, was the first time I've seen that word thrown around as much as it was.
In sports.
And in women's sports in particular. And it's like, you come on the wings of, you know, women supporting women and women empowerment. But it's like, but every time someone does something well or gets something, like, y'all are all mad. Like, No, that's not the case. But do you have to be like up in arms excited about every single thing? No.
Exactly.
Can you be happy for people in your little corner over here? Yes, absolutely. But for women, it's like everyone has to have like a huge sign of like, we're so proud of da-da-da-da-da when we've been supporting behind the scenes for years.
Mhm.
But because you guys, people don't see it all in your face all the time. And I think even me, I get caught up in that sometimes. If I don't see the support like thrown in my face, I'm assuming that I'm not being supported. And that's not the case either. And that's like something that I've had to grow up and realize that support isn't always like in your face, thrown in your face all the time.
Well, also being involved in sports is kind of like you all have a natural level of competitive nature. And it's like, why would I, why, because it's a women's league, is it expected to have this like kumbaya, we're all women supporting women, blah, 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 when it's like low-key, if with the exception of your teammates, everyone else is kind of your competition.
Exactly. But even your own teammates are your competition.
Yeah, exactly.
We are all competing for a spot at the end of the day, and only half of the spots are guaranteed in the W.
Wow.
So you come into training camp on a non-guaranteed contract. Yes, your teammates are your competition. Those are your sisters, and those eventually will be your teammates in your family. But them training camp, week and a half, 2 weeks, oh, it's up for everybody.
I didn't realize that.
That's been my reality. This year 8, my first season on a guaranteed deal.
Wow. And you're like, haha, I don't have to compete.
Exactly. But I've seen people with guaranteed contracts get waived too. So it's like,
wow.
It's cutthroat. And I don't think people truly understand how hard it is to make a WNBA roster. And I've said that before, and people are like, well, isn't it hard to make any type of professional team roster? Yes, it is. But the rules are different. The guarantees are different. The money is different. The length of the season is different. The lifestyle is different. So I just feel like this platform is going to be a good way for us to break it down for people and to bring other players and people involved in women's basketball to break it down for other people and just see so many different perspectives and point of view, which I think that's what's lacking.
One thing I'm so excited about for us doing this is the lowering the rims conversation.
Oh, brother.
Like, I feel like every time a women's basketball player is on a podcast or on like a media platform or something, it comes up every single time.
Every single time.
Like, I'm like, if you have 30 minutes with like Asia Wilson, why would you even speak about that with her?
Why?
You know what I mean?
This is the best player in the world. Who
so
can dunk
things.
on a 10-foot rim, by the way.
Crazy.
And then when the girls do dunk, it's not a good enough dunk.
Oh my gosh. I was just talking on TikTok about Ashlyn Watkins dunking the other day, and I was like, see, like, they don't need to lower the rims. They can dunk if they want to. Everyone's like, well, if you have to make a whole video highlighting the fact that she dunked, then it's not that special. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. So, like, y'all thinking that we gonna change everything. That would change everything about basketball.
Everything about
Changing
the
the
game.
rim. It would change our shots. It would change everything. Just for y'all to not be happy anyway. Please.
Bye.
Get a grip.
And they, listen, no tea, no shade, but they dunk in the NBA. The NBA doesn't need to lower the rims, and people aren't watching it like they used to.
Hey,
so what?
Everyone's favorite players, most of them not really dunking like that. Right. We being honest.
Ja Morant literally told y'all he's not dunking because he doesn't want to get hurt.
He doesn't want to get injured.
So I'm like,
but
Steph
then
Curry's
proceeds to dunk
player.
all over someone's head the next day.
Right. I don't know what that was about. Steph Curry's my favorite player. He doesn't dunk.
Dame
so I'm like,
doesn't dunk. Kyrie don't really dunk. Luka definitely don't be dunking. SGA don't dunk. Okay, let's go back because this is a women's basketball show.
Yes,
but
exactly.
That just proves our point. The players that are in the talks for MVP, everyone's favorite player, selling all the jerseys, they're not dunking like that. So y'all need to let that go now.
Let that go. Then when everybody's missing shots left and right because the rims are too low.
Hey man, next person who says that, just know you put that on my page, you're getting blocked immediately. You say that to my face, I'm gonna just look at you. And we're gonna just be looking at each other until you realize.
There should be a movement now when W players like on podcasts and stuff, and somebody brings up the lowering the rim conversation, they just stop talking and
just
look at them.
Look at them. Now everyone feel uncomfortable.
Now it's awkward for all of us. Speaking of opportunities, and you talked about the guaranteed contracts and everything, I do want to talk about Athletes Unlimited because that is a huge opportunity for so many people to get to play. Mm-hmm. Could you explain a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, so what Athletes Unlimited is the first, off-season opportunity in the United States for professional women's basketball players, and it is made up of 40 players in a pool of players, and you are on a leaderboard. So essentially there's only one winner. There's a champion, and then it goes, you get bonus money for that, and then it trickles down 1 through 40. And what makes Athletes Unlimited so different and special is the scoring system, which is how you get points on the leaderboard. 2, there's no coaches, which is amazing, which leads to the best part, which is the switching of the teams based on the captain. So you become a captain if you're in spot 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's a draft every week, so the teams change. And essentially, we just out there having a time. Free-flowing basketball, no coaches, just vibes, good energy, and a lot of scoring. It's very high scoring.
That's my favorite part, that the teams are different every single time. Like, I'm like, I don't understand how, going from being in the W where you do have like set teammates and it's like you said, like not everything's guaranteed, but it's kind of like who's going to be on your team at the end of the day, and you have like a system you're training for. How is it different training for a situation where you don't really know who your teammates are going to be?
Honestly, it's different because it's different in a good way, because you get to just train how you want to train, because you get to just show up as your best self, the player that you want to be for that 5 weeks that we're together. Whereas in the W, if you're like, for me, for example, like I'm the shooter. Like, okay, I got to make sure my 3-point shot is on point first and foremost, and then everything else can come secondary. But at AU, like I still shoot threes, but I typically opt to do a bunch of other things that I normally wouldn't do because I don't got a role in AU. I'm just Lexie. So it's fun to see players, who I know very well in the W, like just completely break out of their role, and they come to AU and they're like a completely different player in a good way. And then they take that to the W and they just blossom. Every
I love
year,
that. I
we
love
have
that.
all-stars, AU to all-star. It is a pipeline, people. It is a proven pipeline.
Wait, I need to hear more about this.
Let's see. Who was our most
AU All-Star
recent?
pipeline.
Our most recent all-stars were Alicia Gray, who won season 3 of Athletes Unlimited. Kelsey Mitchell was in AU and became an all-star. Before I got sick, I felt like I was on my way to an all-star season, fresh off of AU season.
I know that's right.
So even if you don't get voted as an all-star, I feel like there is a direct correlation of people's performance from AU to the W. Like, you just have like it's like a breath of fresh air.
That's exciting.
So I hope fans, and I hope when you come, because Mariah coming to Nashville, y'all.
Oh, 100%.
She pulling up. I hope you see like the energy being a little different. Have you been to a WNBA game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at All-Star.
Other than All-Star?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because All-Star was lit.
Yeah, I've been to a few. I'm not fair weather, okay?
Okay.
And I went before this year.
Who did you go play? Or who did you go watch play?
The Dream in Atlanta.
Oh, because you live in Atlanta. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Their games are popping.
Yeah.
The rebrand of the Atlanta Dream is very impressive.
And they've got their own arena.
Yeah, because I grew up in Atlanta going to Dream games when Angel McCoughtry was there, and they played in the big arena. And that, it was pretty full in there. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think. That was back when there were still conferences. Like, so much has changed in the W, and I think people really don't understand how much progress there's been and how much change has been made in a good way, because you've been tapped in. I grew up around the WNBA. I've been in it for 8 years now. Like, I wish people would just stop trying to just, every time there's something good that happens, it's like there's a group of people just trying to stomp it out. And like, I don't like that, because that's not how you help things grow. And if people care about it as much as they say they do, they're going to applaud everything that's positive. Whether it's your favorite player or a player you can't stand, at the end of the day, like, everything needs to be uplifted because it's good for the collective. And I think that's the mentality that's missing within the W, within the ownership, within the front offices, and especially in the media.
Well, I will say, I guess some people feel like all publicity is good publicity. And I'm curious how you feel about this, because it's like, I do think some people feel like kind of creating controversy is the way to get more eyes on the game. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm like, I go back and forth where I'm like, okay, at least people are talking about it, but I'm always wondering, I'm like, okay, so when is this gonna turn into a positive thing. Because people
Yeah.
always compare it to like Bird and Magic, like at the very beginning of the NBA becoming popular and like them having to create a controversy there to make it popular. So do you feel like that's going to evolve into something positive, or it's just like, you know?
I think the thing with like Bird and Magic was that was just about hoop.
Yeah,
It was
that's a
about
good point.
Boston versus LA, coast to coast. Obviously, the racial.
I was gonna say, wait, was it?
Yeah, no, because there was the racial undertones of that, obviously. But at the end of the day, it ended up just being about hoop.
Yeah.
Those were two of the best players at the time, at their peak, representing two different Americas. Which those Americas get united in the name of sports.
Yeah.
And then, you take all that weird energy, that negative energy, and you pour it into the game, and it turned into something iconic in a good way. I mean, Magic was just on TV talking about it. He's like, I can't stand the Celtics, but I love them. But when we out in between them lines, I hate you. And I think that's okay. Like, within the lines, we are not anybody but players on that court trying to win a basketball game. And I think for men, and we're hearing it all season right now, they're missing that.
100%.
Like, everyone is complaining about it.
100%.
But then it's like, okay, well, here we are with this, what y'all are missing, and y'all are like killing us for it. So like, I'm curious, like as fans, like what do y'all really want to see on the court? Like, because I feel like because of social media, fans are just more vocal than they've ever been about what they like, what they don't like, which is a good and a bad thing, because I feel like now it's affecting like decision making, which I don't think like that's always a good thing. But I had to tell my coaches and GMs last year, get off Twitter.
Yeah.
Get off of there. Like,
that Twitter's definitely the worst one. I will say, being on social media and in the sports space, one thing I've noticed is I had to stop kind of worrying or responding to the narratives about stuff, because I'll see something like everybody complaining about, let's say, Caitlin Clark getting her jersey retired the same day as Asia Wilson and like the response to that. And then I'll make a video about the response. And I've realized like people just like to be negative about everything. Like I think that it varies platform to platform, but what I've noticed is even in every sport right now, it kind of feels like the fan bases take everything that happens as an opportunity to be negative or to rag on players or to rag on the league or to say something needs to be changed, because fans have a voice they never had before in social media. And they've noticed like the NBA All-Star game changing because people are complaining about it. Like fans feel like if they complain, they have a voice and they have a space and things, but it's also at the same time, you have to realize as a fan, you are not a player, you are not a GM, you are not a professional, and you're talking about real people. Like
real
at the end of the day, it's not.
We are not robots.
Exactly.
We're not athletic robots.
It's just
human
sport.
beings.
It's really not that serious. Like, so when you take it past the line of like, oh, this person had a bad game, like whatever, to the line of like, telling people to go die or like death threats or like being really evil or racist and stuff, that's when I draw the line. But it's become so common now.
Yeah. It's been that way in the NBA. So if you want to look at it half full, that means we've arrived. Okay. We have arrived. We have made it to the point where people are on our heads on social media platforms, no matter what. Now we have to match this elevation with professionalism, with maturity, and sometimes you really just got to get off the internet. And it's easier said than done. But there's no money on X, I should call it. There's no money there for anybody. And the only people making money on there are the ones who are stirring up the pot constantly with lies, with fake stories, fake narratives. Just, they might not even believe what you don't know. Like, we don't know these people.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
could be putting out completely things that go against everything that they really feel or believe for clicks, for retweets, for engagement. So as WNBA players, I beg us as a collective, just get off. Like, you can't feed into it anymore. And I was a huge clapbacker back when X was a civil place. I loved going back and forth with people because it was fun. It was funny. People didn't overstep boundaries or, come for you in like disrespectful ways. Because at the end of the day, we can't really come for people like that because we will face consequences for that. Like, some people are very low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Very low-hanging fruit.
100%.
But I'm just going to leave it there Because unlike people online that hide behind pages, I have a consequence to face. I have people watching me. I have brands watching me. I have CEOs watching me. If they see me attacking a person on
Random
Twitter
person with no profile picture.
with no profile picture, with hatred and just disrespect, like that's a bad look on my part, no matter what this person said. There is a page, Mariah, that was brought to my attention.
Oh gosh.
A Twitter page, an X page, every day tweeted, "I will not rest until Lexie Brown gets waived from the WNBA." Every day, Mariah. A tweet a day about that.
Do you know how like bored and strange
You know
you have
how
to be?
unwell you are in the head? Someone sent it to me and I was like, is this like...
How long did this go on?
It was like some weeks, months.
Weeks? That's crazy. But you know what? That's a compliment because you woke up every day. Somebody woke up with you on their mind. But you don't even know.
Is this real? And again, you have no idea who this person is.
No.
It's kind of scary because it's just like, where are my ops at? I don't even know where my ops are.
Yeah.
They could be down the street. It could have been someone I know.
If they walk past you on the street, they would run away from you.
Man,
they would come for you.
And like it's worse now. Like you have the pages that are like just dedicated to a player or players, or like have a certain player as their, like when I see those pages, I block them immediately.
Oh, 100%.
Like I don't have time for those type of people because they don't care.
Well, they're not, and then they're not fans of the game or fans of that player that they're trying to represent. They're fans of controversy and they're fans of hatred. It's like, I don't think any woman in the W wants to have like a hateful fan base or wants people to come for somebody like just because they have competition on the court. I don't think anybody wants that. So if people on Twitter are acting like that and being hateful or tweeting those things about you, you don't like the WNBA, you don't like WNBA players,
Right.
You're a hateful person.
Right.
So what's the point?
You have a problem.
One thing I want to talk to you about is we've talked about this off wax, off camera.
Oh, God.
But the narrative that WNBA players are brokies.
You know what? That could have been true a few years ago, because actually an article that just came out today, they put my business out. They said my salary of the year I played for the Sky, and because it was only half of a season, I made like $45,000.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's a blessing. It's amazing. I make money playing basketball. But that's ridiculous. So when people have these perceptions of us, that's the information that's out there for them.
Also, keep in mind, not that there's a pay disparity that is not okay, but also I think it's important to note the NBA schedule is 82 games long. And how many games do y'all play?
40. And
so you're getting paid that for 20 games.
Yes. And our season is shorter. Our housing is taken care of for us. If you don't have a car in market, that's taken care of. You get meals, obviously hotels, flights, all that is handled. So essentially, even overseas, the same thing. So essentially, if you're playing W and overseas, if you're in a position to, you could just be stacking bread for years, which is what I was blessed enough to be able to do, was just stack bread, because I was just going from one living situation to another living situation, and then I would just go home.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'll go to my parents' house and chill. But yeah, that misconception of the salaries and I hope you guys, I'm begging you guys to understand that we understand basic economics.
We're talking to you, Ice Cube.
We understand that, yes, if something doesn't make money, then yes, you can't get paid millions of dollars. We understand that. I also want you guys to understand that we are not asking for $20 million contracts. We are asking for contracts that are fair. The revenue split that we have right now is atrocious. That's the reality. That's what we negotiated, okay? We weren't thinking big enough, right? But you still have to get what you can get, which is what happened in the last CBA. When we signed our last CBA to now, the strides have been incredible. The pay has increased. We have charter flights now. A lot of teams have practice facilities. Not us, though. But hopefully that's on the way. But, sometimes you don't see even bigger. And not saying that anybody was closed-minded, but there were priorities that we had 7 years ago that are different than now. So the CBA is going to be interesting.
Well, and the WNBA was the fastest growing brand of 2024. So it's like things are completely different now than they were even a year ago. And I like what you said about being able to stack bread and being in that position, because I don't like when people paint the WNBA or women's sports in general out like it's some sort of charity case that needs some savior to come down and like help you guys up and give you a piece of bread. And like, I don't think that I don't think it's like that. Like, I think people need to acknowledge, yes, there are things that need to change within women's sports, and that's why we're doing this. But at the same time, it's good enough as it is as a product. Like, you guys are out there going crazy.
I'm glad you said that. The product is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
The business is the issue, not the product. And we, as players, have nothing to do with the business of it.
Exactly.
Our job is to put a good product on the floor that people want to consume. And you can't consume something that you can't see, which is something that the other league is currently dealing with right now, is how we supposed to watch our favorite team if we can't find them. And that is what we have been preaching that from the mountaintops for years. You cannot support something that you can't see.
Exactly.
It's that simple. It is that simple.
And I'm no CEO, but I'm thinking, like, if you make it easier for people to watch, I know like you might miss out on that little like streaming coin or whatever, but half the people are watching it illegally anyways. I'm sorry. So it's like
more than half.
Exactly. So if you make it accessible and people can watch basketball on cable or whatever, or for free, or on their local channel, and they fall in love with the product, then they're following the players on social media, and they're following the league on social media, and they're buying tickets to go see it in person. And then people are prompted to spend more money to be a part of it. But if you stop forcing them to spend money just to watch it on television.
Yeah.
That don't work.
I have to give a shout out to the Liberty ownership and the Aces ownership, because they like drew a line. They're like, y'all want to win championships? This is the way to do it. You pour money into these organizations and you will get your return on investment very quickly. You will get championships. You will get max players. You will get full arenas. And I think them doing that really was the catalyst to this explosion of the W, because what they did in Vegas, from what they started from to what they are now, is amazing. What they did with the Liberty, they've been an iconic franchise since the beginning of the league. How they went from playing in their gym in New York before they went to Barclays. Horrible. It was awful in there. Now they're winning championships. Like, now they have a mascot that might be the most famous person in the league right now.
Shout out to Big Ellie.
Shout out to Big Ellie. So it's like, there is a divide in ownership, and that's going to be something that's interesting to explore moving forward, because we have ownership groups that are ready to spend a coin, and we have ownership groups that are not.
And that's really important.
Becoming glaring. It's glaring now.
That's a thing on social media. Like, people gravitate towards TikTok because TikTok is willing to create or pay their creators to create quality content, which makes the people who are consuming content on TikTok want to stay on the app longer.
Yep.
So it's the same thing with sports. It's like, if you're putting money into your athletes, which are your product, and your facilities, and making sure that they have the best, then the fans are more encouraged to watch it for longer, because what they're watching is higher quality.
Yeah. And you want to be treated like a professional. I'm currently living in Los Angeles, and if I didn't have my trainers here, I would have nowhere to work out at. That's not okay.
No. So where do you practice?
I practice in the Valley with my trainers that I gratefully met while I was living out here. But if I didn't have them, like, for example, they're out of town right now. I haven't picked up a basketball in like a week and a half.
But as your team, like, where does your team practice at? Because if you don't have a practice facility that's dedicated to you.
Girl, and I'm not trying to, and I'm not here to like put anybody on blast, but I'm here to talk the talk that needs to be spoken, which is about how we should be treated as professional athletes. And you want us to come out and put out a good product and play at a high level and be under these microscopes and scrutiny and constant criticisms, but you can't give us a gym.
Which is like bare minimum, by the way.
Bare minimum. So for me, anybody that knows me, I live in the gym. I love working out, like gym rat to the core. You're telling me that I worked my ass off to become a professional athlete and now I don't have a gym after that? If I want to just go get some shots up, I have nowhere to go.
Wait, so this, I got to ask you this, because you were one of the best players in college, in the country.
Thank you.
So how is it different? I assume that the facilities at your school were a little different.
Duke, amazing. 24/7 access, shooting machines, cardio, weight room, anything you needed to be a high-level athlete.
A high-level athlete. So you get all that at Duke to get you to the WNBA.
Yeah.
Then you get to the WNBA and you like, where are the facilities at
Duke?
The
gym? Where is it? For me, there's just been a lot of things about my personal experience that have helped me become the woman I am today, which is a very resilient, well-rounded person. And I feel like the opinions and things that I say about the W, I've always wanted to push the league forward no matter what position I have in the league. Like, I've always been a huge advocate for women's basketball in the W ever since I've been young. But now going through it, I'm just like, there are certain things that I don't want to say I was afraid to say, but I just kind of had to see things through to be like, okay, is this me being in my feelings or is this like the reality of the league? And no, the reality of the league is that there's a handful of teams that have nowhere to exercise and work out and get better in the off season and sometimes in season. And that's a problem.
That's a problem. But that's why we're doing this, because it's so important that you have a platform to speak about those things and you're not constantly seeing other people, i.e. men, speak about them for you.
Yeah.
Because you're living it. It's your lived experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, you're not given that platform to speak about these things. So that's why you create your own.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, the thing about helping things grow is you have to be open to the critiques that are beneficial. I'm big on like, okay, you're gonna bring something to me, a complaint, like with any type of solution in your vicinity, then why are you bringing this to me? Obviously, you're just trying to like stir the pot, talk shit, not help. If you don't have an idea of how this can be improved, if you just are constantly throwing shade and shots at things and people and organizations. So like, that's not what I want here. I'm part of the CBA committee. Like, I wanted to be in WNBA PA or WNBPA leadership. I wanted to do that because I feel like if I'm going to have these grievances, I need to be a part of the group that is going to help push the league forward. So I had to wait a while to kind of get my footing. And then I was comfortable enough to be like, okay, like I want to be a part of this no matter what my role in the league. I'm not the face of nothing but my life.
You're the face of this podcast.
I'm the face of this podcast now. We're the faces of the podcast. But at the end of the day, I want to be in a front office. I want to continue to do media. So at the end of the day, I want to just push things forward as much as I can and then go do my job on the court and then come back here and keep it pushing and uplift and bring people in to also uplift, but also share their experiences. And I think that's what's going to make this podcast so special.
Exactly. I'm excited to get into, especially as like the season progresses and as
I'm
Athletes
so excited
goes on, us to like have debriefs.
Debriefs, especially, yeah. Because I know people be wanting to know what goes on in locker rooms, which I'm not gonna tell no business. Obviously, that's code. But I'm not gonna let other people make assumptions and throw BS out about what's going on in between these lines and behind the scenes. And we just don't have anybody doing that right now. So I'm really excited. I know no one asked me to do it, but I'm excited to do it.
But also, I think it's important to let the listeners know that we're also going to have women on the podcast speak about their stories and what's going on in these locker rooms and their experiences that haven't previously gotten the opportunity to, and people who have. But we're going to get like a first look at what's really happening in women's basketball.
Yeah, and it's going to be a time. I'm so excited. This is going to be great. And again, we're not here to like throw shade. We're not here to be negative. We're here to talk real. So anybody who thinks me talking about the facilities is shady. It's not shady. It's my current reality, so I get to talk about it.
No, I know your teammates somewhere like, yes!
Yeah,
please.
like I love the Sparks organization. They've done so much for me. My career has changed since I've been in the Los Angeles Sparks organization, but that does not excuse them from being able to improve.
Not in LA. That
Not
is
in
nuts.
LA. Not if we want to win championships again.
There are about 40 stadiums in here. I passed 3 on my way over here.
Man, just let us go somewhere. And it is not cheap to get gym space out here either. So it's like, yeah, okay, if I want to go shoot a little bit, like, that's not cheap. Everybody got to make bread out here or you're going to be on the street. So I'm just like, it's time to have these conversations. But it is, I hope everybody understands that it's coming from a very genuine place. Like, I just love the W. I love basketball. I love where women's sports is right now. And I just think that we need to continue to have these conversations. More women need to have these conversations because, like we said earlier, it has been completely taken over by people that have no business talking about any of these things, throwing storylines, narratives, just a lot of there was a lot of negativity this season for as record-breaking and amazing as the season was. I'm sure most fans can only think of negative things that happened. And that's not how you should leave a season. Like the finals was amazing, but it's like they talked about the finals for 5 minutes. They talked about Diana Taurasi potentially retiring for 3 minutes. It was disgusting.
Yeah,
how
I
they
agree.
sent her out.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that one of the beauties of the WNBA having such a record-breaking season as far as viewership and everything that happened, and people covering the sport that weren't previously covering it, was the coverage a little bit irresponsible? Yes. At the same time, I am glad that some of these bigger platforms that weren't covering it before are, even if they're not doing it completely right yet, because I think that makes space for people like us to come in and give it the coverage that I feel like the game deserves. So it's not that I want those people to stop talking about it. I just think that there needs to be a certain level of responsibility when you're talking about something that is in the growing stage. But I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And I feel like when you say things like that, like responsibility and people are being irresponsible, they're thinking that we want to be like coddled and babied. No, if you have an opinion about a player, cool. Why? Tell us why. It can't just be like, well, it's just that's how I feel. Like, no, that's not how narratives are built. That's not how good narratives and storylines are built. That's how, there's no rhyme or reason to what a lot of people have been saying. So yes, you can have a favorite player. You can have a not favorite player. But don't tell me why this person is your favorite player by telling me why you don't like that player. Just tell me why you love this player so much. But if you don't like this player, tell me why you don't like this player. And if you sound like you on some weird hating stuff, then that's fine. Be that. But there are people who are like, I'm a proud hater. All right.
But let me say this, because like you said, I said it needs to be covered more responsibly. I didn't say you need to be sweet. I said responsible.
Right.
And the second thing when it comes to being responsible and covering women's sports is if you are more so talking about what is controversial than you are talking about who is the best. And, if you're not speaking about Asia Wilson ever, then you don't need to be covering women's basketball, period.
Right.
If you're speaking about really anybody more than you're speaking about her, if you're speaking about controversy between 2 rookies more than you're talking about the finals, it's irresponsible. Yeah. So that's my issue. It's like, I'm not saying be sweet. I'm not saying don't talk about those things, because I cover basketball and I talk about those things too. But at the same time, when the finals come, then talk about that. Lock in.
I think the biggest miss this season was the coverage of the Minnesota Lynx. The coverage of Minnesota Lynx, who also retired Maya Moore's jersey in the midst of this amazing season they had. Their finals run. Their complete domination of the W for the most part. It wasn't close for the most part. I thought they were going to win the finals. A lot of people thought they were going to win the finals, but it was crickets the entire season. That is an organization that has already won 4 championships, and you guys had nothing to say about them the entire season. Their best player came second in MVP voting and won Defensive Player of the Year. Nothing. Y'all don't have nothing to say about. And that's what I feel like that's the void that we're going to fill. is talking about these players that deserve flowers now, because I'm very tired of us being like, oh, let's give this person their flowers and they played 20 years ago. Well, why didn't you give them their flowers 20 years ago when they earned them and deserve them? I'm happy to give them their flowers now 20 years later, but I don't want players playing now to feel that way. I want players, and there's enough flowers for everybody, Mariah.
100%.
Like, that's what people are also missing. There's not only 4 flowers.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an abundance of flowers.
Exactly.
But there's not an abundance of people to give them. But us, we gonna give them to everybody.
Everywhere.
You get a flower, you get a flower, you get a flower, you get a flower. Like, oh my God, we should do a segment.
You get a flower? Yes.
Oh, so cute.
I think the perfect way to conclude this is, who is somebody, I guess you talked about, I assume you're referring to Nafisha, but like, who is somebody that you feel like deserves their flowers today?
Right now? Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with Fee. I think she deserves her flowers right now. I think she got a few during the finals run because she was playing out of her mind. The whole playoff, she was playing out of her mind. And now she's about to start her own league, Unrivaled, which I think is incredible. So yeah, today's flowers. Who gets a flower today is Nafisa Collier. I was her teammate when she was a rookie, and I had a blast playing with her. She was amazing to play with, and she's also amazing to play against. She challenges everybody. She's pretty much unguardable. But yeah, flower of the day goes to Nafisa Collier.
I'm going to give my flower to the LA Sparks because I didn't realize y'all had no practice facility.
Why did they get flowers for that?
No, the girls on the team.
Oh.
You, girl.
Oh, I thought you were giving the organization flowers. No. I was like, they get rocks.
No. To the players.
Oh, for fighting through? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that is, wow.
It's tough. And probably I felt bad for our rookies.
Listen.
Because they were probably like, what is this? And I had no explanation for them. And I was just like, it's just what we have.
I'm going to be done with being spicy after I say this. But I just am going to say, if we started treating WNBA players just as well as we treated women's college basketball players, I think things would be a lot different.
Period.
But Lexie, I can't wait for everyone to listen to our next one because I feel like we have so much to say and I could sit and talk to you about this for hours. But I don't think they want to listen to what's the app for that.
Yes, they do. Guys, this is Full Circle Podcast. We will see you next week.
Subscribe.